What if turning down millions in revenue could actually make your business thrive? In today's hyper-competitive market, most companies obsess over profit margins and scalability. So when a retail giant like Hobby Lobby chooses to close every Sunday, donate half its profits, and prioritize spiritual discernment over standard business analytics, it raises eyebrows. And yet, this $600 garage startup has grown into a multi-billion-dollar powerhouse, challenging everything we thought we knew about success. This isn't just an exception, it's a quiet revolution in how business can be done. When values are clear, decisions become easy, said Roy Disney, and Hobby Lobby proves this wisdom at scale. Rather than conforming to traditional corporate playbooks, its founder David Green placed faith and generosity at the center of every major choice. By doing so, he unlocked a kind of values-based leadership that not only turned a profit, but also built a culture of trust, purpose, and resilience. Even legendary business minds like Peter Drucker emphasize that culture eats strategy for breakfast, and Hobby Lobby's culture is rooted in something far deeper than just quarterly results. Think of their business like a tree planted by water. It doesn't chase every market trend or expansion frenzy. It grows steadily, nourished by timeless principles. For example, closing on Sundays isn't a loss, it's a message: we value people over profit. Giving away 50% of earnings? That's not reckless, it's long-term investment in community and mission. By placing faith in business, they've created a model where mission-driven entrepreneurship isn't idealistic, it's effective. Like a compass, their values don't just inform direction, they keep them grounded during storms. So, ask yourself, what drives your business decisions, fear or faith? Trends or truth? In a world that rewards hustle, could restraint be your greatest asset? What if stepping back, saying no, or giving more wasn't a weakness, but the very thing that sets you apart? These aren't just Hobby Lobby's choices, they're a challenge to all of us. Especially in leadership, what you say no to defines you as much as what you pursue. If this story resonates, maybe it's time to reimagine what bold leadership truly looks like. Let your values be your strategy. Build for purpose, not just performance. Share this with a fellow leader or entrepreneur who needs the reminder that mission and margin can coexist and thrive. And if you're here for more stories that inspire courageous thinking and intentional living, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. About the authors. David Green is the visionary founder and CEO behind Hobby Lobby, the arts and crafts retail giant that began as a modest $600 venture and has grown into an $8 billion enterprise. Renowned for weaving faith into the fabric of his business philosophy, Green leads with conviction, purpose, and an unwavering commitment to generosity. He is also the best-selling author of Giving It All Away, and Getting It All Back Again, where he shares how aligning business with biblical values can lead to both success and significance. Bill High, a former attorney-turned-purpose-driven entrepreneur, is the founder of The Signatory, a Christian foundation dedicated to advancing biblical generosity across generations. A respected voice on legacy and stewardship, High has co-authored multiple books, including A Generous Life and The Legacy Life, that empower families and leaders to build lasting impact through intentional giving and faith-led living. Key Takeaway 1. What if the key to lasting business success isn't strategy, but surrender? Imagine leading a multi-million-dollar company through a global crisis. Not by tightening control or slashing costs, but by pausing to pray. During the COVID-19 pandemic, while most corporations raced to protect profits, Hobby Lobby's leadership took a radically different route. They stopped 3 times a day to seek divine direction. It's not just a leadership tactic, it's a lifestyle grounded in faith over fear. And remarkably, despite operating with 40% less inventory, the company closed the year with record-breaking sales. The best leaders are servants first, said Robert K. Greenleaf, and David Green, founder of Hobby Lobby, lives this truth daily. His leadership is rooted not in ownership but in stewardship, treating the business as something managed on behalf of God. Instead of relying solely on analytics or trends, major decisions are made through discernment, even when they seem counterintuitive. One early example? Donating $30,000 to ministry when the company was barely staying afloat. We gave when we didn't have it, Green recalls. Faith became the business plan. This approach flips conventional leadership on its head. Instead of being the captain, you become the caretaker. Picture yourself entrusted with someone else's prized vineyard. You tend it with more care, more humility, and a constant awareness that you're not the final authority. That's how Hobby Lobby operates. Success, in this framework, is not something you earn, it's something you receive when your decisions align with a higher purpose. It's not about being risk-averse, it's about being responsive to something greater than profit. But how often do we confuse control with leadership? In today's metrics-obsessed workplace, it's tempting to believe every decision must be backed by data and logic. Yet history shows otherwise. Leaders who build enduring legacies often make room for intuition, conscience, and soul-led decision-making. What if the most valuable asset in your business isn't in your balance sheet, but in your belief system? What if listening quietly could steer your company more effectively than shouting over the noise? As we turn the page to explore the next chapter of faith-driven leadership, take this moment to reflect. Are you leading like an owner, or a steward? Are your decisions aligned with purpose, or just pressure? If success is a gift, how are you treating the giver? Stay with us as we uncover more insights from Wild Courage, a guide not just for better business, but for braver living. Obedience is the master key to every door of success. If God owns the business, He gets the deciding vote. Key takeaway 2. What if the secret to business growth wasn't keeping more, but giving more away? In a world obsessed with profit margins and quarterly returns, the idea of giving away half your company's profits sounds like financial suicide. But at Hobby Lobby, this radical generosity isn't just idealism, it's strategy. The company's approach flips traditional capitalism on its head, proving that generosity in business can be a multiplier, not a liability. It's not about sacrificing success, it's about redefining it. Wealth is a tool, not the goal, says David Green, the company's founder. Grounded in biblical stewardship, Hobby Lobby's generosity began with a tithe, just 10% of profits, and has grown to an astounding 50%. And here's the paradox: the more they gave, the more the business thrived. Instead of asking, "How much can we keep?" the leadership asks, "How much can we give to make a difference?" It's an equation that prioritizes impact over accumulation, and results speak for themselves. Think of generosity not as a donation, but as an investment with eternal ROI. Employees don't just clock in, they contribute to funding clean water projects, global education, and Bible translation efforts around the world. This sense of shared purpose builds a company culture where motivation comes from mission, not metrics. Imagine working in a place where your daily tasks ripple into life-changing outcomes for people across the globe. That's the power of purpose-driven business. Still think this approach is only for giants? Think again. You don't need billions to begin giving boldly. The lesson for modern entrepreneurs and business leaders is clear: generosity doesn't start when you've made it starts when you decide to lead with open hands. What if your next budget review included a giving plan alongside your growth targets? What if generosity wasn't a side initiative, but a central part of your brand? As we transition into the next chapter of Wild Courage, consider this: what's holding you back from giving now? Whether you're leading a startup or managing a team, your influence can fund more than just profits, it can build legacies. Giving isn't what you do after success, it's how you get there. When wealth becomes a tool for impact, business becomes a force for good. Key takeaway 3. Why playing it safe can kill your business. Wild Courage by David Green. In today's hyper-competitive market, risk is often portrayed as something to minimize, control, or even fear. But Hobby Lobby's journey shows us the opposite. Sometimes, the most secure path to growth requires embracing uncertainty. It's a counterintuitive truth in values-based leadership: impact over predictability can produce lasting success. When a company is built around a mission deeper than just profit, then bold, faith-driven decisions become a necessity, not a gamble. Business history is full of this lesson. As C.S. Lewis once wrote, "Courage is not simply one of the virtues, but the form of every virtue at the testing point." For Hobby Lobby, this courage was tested during a phase of rapid expansion. Success bred confidence, but that confidence morphed into overreach. What followed was a near collapse. But instead of blaming external conditions, the leadership took a hard look inward. The root cause wasn't bad timing, it was pride. The turning point came when they shifted from controlling outcomes to surrendering control, guided by prayer, humility, and a renewed focus on stewardship. Think of it this way: steering a business without faith is like sailing in fog without a compass. The waters of entrepreneurship are always uncertain, but when leaders align with a higher mission, risk transforms from reckless guessing into purposeful obedience. Hobby Lobby began embracing risk not because it wanted to be edgy, but because its decisions were anchored in something unshakable: its values. Whether it was standing firm on religious convictions or expanding beyond safe forecasts, every leap had a why behind it. So here's a question for every entrepreneur and executive: are your decisions driven by fear or by purpose? What looks safe may be short-sighted. And what seems dangerous might just be the door to your company's next breakthrough. True leadership isn't about controlling outcomes, it's about trusting your direction. And often, that means stepping out before the path is fully lit. As we dive deeper into Wild Courage, reflect on this: where are you being called to step out in faith? If this message stirred something in you, please like, share, and subscribe to stay inspired by leadership stories that challenge convention and spark conviction. Risk isn't recklessness. It's courage guided by purpose. Real security comes not from control, but from conviction. Key takeaway 4. What if your real legacy isn't your net worth, but your next generation's compass? In a world obsessed with quarterly earnings and fast exits, few leaders dare to ask, will my business still stand 150 years from now? That question reshapes everything. At Hobby Lobby, the focus isn't just profit, it's preserving purpose across generations. By practicing long-term stewardship, its leaders aren't just building a business, they're cultivating a legacy. In an era of short-term wins, they're playing the longest game of all. As business philosopher Jim Collins once said, greatness is not a function of circumstance. Greatness, it turns out, is largely a matter of conscious choice. That conscious choice shows up in Hobby Lobby's multi-generational planning. The company has built governance structures that prioritize mission over money, where leadership isn't inherited but entrusted to those who align with character, gifting, and calling. It's not about entitlement. It's about entrustment. And that distinction changes everything. Think of your business like a vineyard, not a vending machine. One yields fruit for decades, but only with pruning, care, and patience. Hobby Lobby has cultivated a mission-rooted enterprise that avoids the all-too-common collapse seen in second- and third-generation businesses. Why? Because it doesn't assume legacy, it intentionally designs for continuity. Through clearly defined values and frameworks, the company ensures that future leaders will inherit more than a brand. They'll inherit a blueprint for impact. So ask yourself, are you building for your lifestyle, or your lineage? Are your core values codified? Is your mission bigger than your market share? Short-term wins may make headlines, but it's the long-term vision that builds institutions worth remembering. In a culture racing toward exit strategies, true wisdom lies in planning for endurance, not just excellence. As you turn the page on Wild Courage, reflect on this: your impact tomorrow begins with the systems you build today. Don't just build a business, build a baton worth passing. Legacy is crafted, not inherited. Key takeaway 5. Lead like a family. The radical culture behind Hobby Lobby's success, Wild Courage. In a culture where burnout is worn like a badge and productivity is king, Hobby Lobby dares to ask a radical question: what if leadership looked like love? At this values-driven company, leading like a family isn't just a feel-good motto, it's a guiding framework that shapes how people are treated, how leaders are developed, and how policies are designed. Instead of extracting more from employees, they invest more into their lives, building a workplace where people can truly flourish. Leadership expert Patrick Lencioni once said, "When you honor people, they will honor the mission." Hobby Lobby puts this into practice by treating its workplace as an extension of the home. That means closing stores every Sunday to protect rest, paying significantly above minimum wage, and crafting policies that lower stress instead of raising quotas. The result? Not just retention, but reverence. Employees aren't seen as cogs, they're seen as whole people. Picture a workplace as a greenhouse, not a machine. One nurtures growth in every direction, the other demands output at all costs. At Hobby Lobby, even leaders are encouraged to align their work with their personal health, faith, and family responsibilities. Struggles aren't hidden, they're supported. That's because true leadership isn't just measured in metrics, it's measured in wholeness. So pause and ask, does your workplace heal or hurt the people in it? Are your systems built around human needs, or just efficiency? Many companies claim to care about people, but few build frameworks that prove it. The most sustainable organizations are those that invest in emotional and spiritual well-being just as much as financial performance. If you're ready to rethink leadership from the inside out, now is the time. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Business is at its best when it mirrors the heart of the home. Key takeaway 6. Why the best leaders let others lead: trust, humility and servant leadership in action. In high-stakes business environments, control often masquerades as competence. But at Hobby Lobby, a different truth emerges: real leadership means releasing control to those who are closest to the action. This counterintuitive approach is reshaping how leadership functions, not by tightening reins, but by loosening them. It's a model built on trust, humility, and shared ownership. And it works. As John Maxwell once said, a leader is one who knows the way, goes the way, and shows the way. But Hobby Lobby's brand of faith-based leadership adds something deeper. Sometimes, showing the way means stepping aside. Store managers and frontline workers are empowered to make real-time decisions, not because they're micromanaged, but because they're trusted. When employees are equipped and encouraged, the best ideas rise from the ground, not the boardroom. Imagine a symphony where every musician waits for the conductor's next move. It would be slow, stifled, and out of sync. Now imagine one where each player knows the song so well they can anticipate and adapt in harmony. That's the power of servant leadership in business. It's not about abandoning structure, it's about cultivating competence and then giving it room to operate. So, ask yourself, are you leading a team or just managing people? Are your employees free to make decisions, or are they afraid to act without approval? Trust-driven workplace culture isn't built in a day, but every moment of deference to someone else's strength moves your business closer to long-term agility and excellence. If this kind of leadership speaks to you, take action now. When you delegate authority, you don't give up control, you multiply capacity. The strongest leaders don't always speak the loudest, they listen the deepest. Key takeaway 7. Why do so many leaders burn out, even when their teams seem to be thriving? It's often not because they're doing too little, but because they're trying to do everything. In today's noise-heavy business landscape, the greatest leadership skill might just be ruthless clarity. Hobby Lobby's journey proves that success doesn't come from doing more, it comes from anchoring everything to a single, unshakable mission. If you chase two rabbits, both will escape, warns an old proverb. David Green, founder of Hobby Lobby, has taken that wisdom to heart. His company runs on a clear faith-based leadership principle: honor God first, and let that guide every choice. From product sourcing to hiring decisions, the question is always, does this align with our purpose? If it doesn't, it's out. Period. That's purpose-driven decision-making in its purest form. Think of a compass versus a GPS. A GPS tells you every step, but it changes with traffic, detours, and updates. A compass, on the other hand, gives you one constant direction. Hobby Lobby's leadership behaves more like a compass, keeping their mission at the center. They prioritize simplicity in business strategy, opting for clear, repeatable processes over perfection. No over-engineering, no excess meetings, just forward motion rooted in what truly matters. Ask yourself, what's your one thing? What principle do your decisions orbit around? If your team is slowed down by complexity, perfectionism, or shifting priorities, it might be time to simplify, not just what you do, but why you do it. Clarity beats complexity every time. Let this be your sign to simplify with purpose. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. Leonardo da Vinci. Don't strive for perfection. Strive for purpose. Key takeaway 8. Why the best leaders stay close to the work. Hobby Lobby's hands-on leadership. It happens more often than we realize. As companies scale, many leaders retreat into corner offices, removed from the rhythms of the real work. But here's the truth, disconnected leadership is dangerous. At Hobby Lobby, leadership looks very different, faith-driven leadership that stays grounded, engaged, and full of energy. The best leaders are the ones who know the floor better than the forecast, says business strategist Patrick Lencioni. That's the heartbeat of Hobby Lobby's approach. Executives aren't hidden behind data dashboards, they walk the store floors, ask frontline staff questions, and observe what customers experience. This isn't micromanagement. It's hands-on business strategy, grounded in reality and rooted in care. Think of it like a coach on the field versus one in the press box. The coach on the field sees body language, hears tension, and feels momentum. That presence builds trust, catches issues early, and reinforces shared purpose. At Hobby Lobby, leaders also bring intensity, not just showing up, but pouring themselves into the work. Whether making hiring calls or helping stock shelves, the culture is built on purpose-driven leadership that's visible, active, and contagious. So, here's the question, are you close enough to the action to lead with wisdom? Do your team members feel your energy or just your authority? Leadership isn't just about making high-level calls, it's about the emotional presence that elevates everyone around you. Show up. Stay close. Lead fully. People may doubt what you say, but they will believe what you do. Lewis Cass. Leadership is not a position or a title, it is action and example. Donald McGannon. In summary, what if the most successful business strategies weren't found in MBA textbooks, but in ancient wisdom and personal conviction? Leadership Not by the Book tells the extraordinary story of how David Green, founder of Hobby Lobby, built an $8 billion company, not by following conventional models, but by surrendering leadership to a higher purpose. This isn't just a book about business, it's a blueprint for faith-driven leadership, courage, and conviction in a world obsessed with profit. The heart of Green's philosophy lies in radical stewardship, seeing his business not as his own, but as God's. From the earliest days, decisions weren't made through spreadsheets alone, but through prayerful discernment, even when logic pointed another way. One early example? Giving away $30,000 to charity when the business was barely breaking even. It wasn't a financial strategy, it was an act of faith. And yet, it opened doors to greater growth and a culture defined by generosity. One of the most counterintuitive yet powerful ideas in the book is that generosity is a growth strategy. Hobby Lobby gives away 50% of its profits, supports global ministries, and funds social good on a massive scale. But this isn't charity for appearance's sake, it's a core business value. Employees are energized by the purpose behind their work, knowing their efforts impact lives far beyond store walls. As Green puts it, wealth is a tool, not the goal. In another bold move, Hobby Lobby doesn't chase short-term trends. The company closes every Sunday, even during the busiest retail seasons. Why? To protect rest, family time, and faith. They've weathered storms, like COVID-19, not through panic, but through prayer. While others scrambled, Hobby Lobby paused for spiritual clarity and ended the year stronger than ever. The lesson? When you're anchored in values, chaos doesn't shake you, it sharpens you. The book also dives into long-term legacy thinking. Green doesn't lead with just the next quarter in mind, he plans with the next 150 years in view. Leadership roles aren't passed down by bloodline alone but are entrusted to those with integrity, vision, and alignment with the company's mission. This legacy mindset ensures that values, not just profits, are passed on to future generations. Another cornerstone of this leadership model is family-first culture. Employees aren't just workers, they're seen as people with lives, families, and purpose. With wages well above the national average and policies that prioritize well-being over productivity, Hobby Lobby proves that a compassionate culture creates loyalty and strength. Green reminds us that leadership starts by treating your team like family, and that care pays back in trust, stability, and impact. Equally compelling is the theme of trust and humility in leadership. Hobby Lobby's leaders actively defer to team members on the ground, empowering them to make decisions. Mistakes aren't punished but used as learning opportunities. This fosters a culture where initiative thrives and decisions are made where they matter most. Leadership here isn't about control, it's about releasing control in service of something bigger. At its core, Leadership Not by the Book is an invitation to lead with conviction, courage, and compassion. It's proof that you don't need to compromise your values to build a thriving business, you just need to root them deeper. Whether you're a CEO, entrepreneur, or emerging leader, this book will challenge you to lead not just with your head, but with your heart and spirit. If this message moved you, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel so we can spread these powerful principles far and wide. And if no one told you lately, remember this: you are loved, you are worthy, and you are spectacularly capable of extraordinary things.